Coffee Break Collection 17, Health and Fitness. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Female Education, Physical Training by Reverend S.W. Fisher. I have presupposed three things in reference to education. The field which it covers is also threefold: the body, the intellect, and the heart. The body is the living temple of the soul. It is more than a casket for the preservation of the jewel. It is more than the setting of the diamond. It is more even than an exquisitely constructed dwelling wherein the soul lives and works and worships. It is a living, sensitive agent into which the spirit pours its own life, through which it communes with all external nature, and receives the effluxes of God streaming from a material creation. It is the admirable organ through which the man sends forth his influence either to bless and vivify, or to curse and wither. By it, the immortal mind converts deserts into gardens, creates the forms of art, sways senates, and shreds its plastic presence over social life. The senses are the finely wrought gates through which knowledge enters the sublime dome of thought, while the eye, the tongue, the hand are the instruments of the spirit's power over the outer world. The soul incarnate in such a body enjoys a living medium of reciprocal communication between itself and all things without. Meanwhile, the body itself does not arrive here mature in its powers, nor does it spring suddenly from the imbecility of the infant to the strength of the man. By slow development, by a gradual growth, in analogy with that of a tree whose life is protracted, it rises, after years of existence, to its appointed stature. Advancing thus slowly, it affords ample time for its full and free development. In this physical training there are 2 points of special importance. The first is the removal of all unnatural restraints and the pressure of unhealthy customs. The second is the opportunity, the motive, and the habit of free exercise in the pure air of heaven. These, as causes of health and fine physical development, are interwoven, as are their opposites. In the progress of society from barbarism to refinement, it has often been the case that men, in departing from what was savage, have lost that which was natural, and in their ascent from the rude, have left behind that which was essential to the higher civilization. In escaping from the nakedness of the barbarian, they have sometimes carried dress to an extreme of art which renders it untrue to nature and productive of manifold evils. In ascending from the simple and rude gastronomy of the savage, they have brought the art of cookery to such an excess of luxury as to enervate society by merely factitious appetites. In the formation of habits of life, social intercourse and amusements adapted to a refined state, they have introduced many things at war with a healthful development of both body and mind. The manly exercises of swimming, skating, riding, hunting, ball playing, the bracing walk in storm and sunshine, the free ramble over hill and dale, all adapted to develop an independent, self-relying character, with the occasional reunion where wit, science, healthful industry, and serene piety shed their benedictions, associating that which is free and bold with the refined and sacred. All these are, in many cases, displaced by frivolous and less healthful excitements. Our girls and boys, prematurely exalted into young gentlemen and ladies, are tutored by dancing masters, their manners disciplined into an artificial stiffness, and the free developments of an open nature formed under the genial influence of truly polite parents, the finest discipline in the world, arrested by the strictures of a purely conventional regimen, in which the laws of health and the higher spiritual life seem never to have been consulted. With such a physical training associated with a corresponding education of the mind and heart, they are ripe for the customs and fashions of life in harmony therewith, and totally averse to the purer, manlier and nobler duties and pleasures of a better state of society. To dress and exhibit themselves, to crowd the saloon of every foreign trifler, who under the abused name of art and for the sake of gold, seeks to minister to us those meretricious excitements which associate themselves with declining states and artificial forms of life, to waste the most precious hours of night set apart by the God of nature for repose, in dancing, eating, drinking and revelry, follow naturally enough upon such training. Then in the rear come disease of body and mind, broken constitutions and broken hearts, and last of all, with grim majesty, death, prematurely summoned, avenges this violation of the laws of nature upon the miserable victims, and quenches the glare of this brilliant day in the darkness of the tomb. How utterly different is such training and such modes of life consequent upon it from those which are dictated by a thorough understanding of our nature and the great purposes of our existence. For in all these things we shall find there exists a connection sufficiently obvious between the right education of the spirit and the body, and that so strong is their mutual influence as to render it of great importance to care for them both in harmony with each other. Then shall we regard the perfection of the form and the vigour of our bodily powers. Casting away whatever did not consist with the health and finer developments of the physical system, we should pursue that course of education which best prepared the body for its grand work as the living agent of the spirit. In considering physical training, it is allowable for us to look both at beauty and intellectual power. A noble form in man, a fine, beautiful, healthful form in woman, are desirable for their outward influence. Created susceptible of deep impressions from external appearances, it is neither religion nor good sense to undervalue them. That men generally have overestimated their worth is a reason why we should reduce them to their true position, and not sink them below it. The palace of the soul should befit its possessor, and as God has taken pleasure in scattering images of beauty all over the earth, and made us susceptible of pleasure therefrom, it is right that in the education of our children we should seek for the unfolding of the noblest and most beautiful forms. Shall we beautify our dwellings, adorn our grounds with plants, flowers and trees of various excellence, improve the breed of our cattle, and yet care not for the constituents and forms of those who are on earth, the masterpieces of divine wisdom and possessors of all this goodly heritage? Most of all, however, as the agent of the spirit, should we seek to rear our children in all healthful customs and invigorating pursuits. It is possible, indeed, that a mind of gigantic powers may sometimes dwell in a feeble frame, swayed to and fro by every breath of air, but we are sure that such a physical state is the source of manifold vexations, pains, and loss of power. It is a state which the possessor never covets, which oppresses him with the consciousness of an energy he is forbidden to put forth, and a force for moving the world crippled by the impediment of a frail body. For the full discharge of all the duties of life, for the affording of our mental powers a fair field for their action, and especially for the education and advancement of succeeding generations, it is indispensable the vigour of the body should correspond to the vigour of the intellect, so far as to constitute the one the most efficient agent of the other. It has rarely been taken into view that, aside from the personal benefits of health, in the greater power of present action, the intense intellects and feeble frames of one generation are a ruinous draught upon both the physical and mental powers of that which succeeds. A race of overwrought brains in enfeebled bodies must be recruited from a more healthful stock, or their posterity will, in time, decline into idiocy or cease from the earth. The process of degeneracy, by an infallible law, will pass from the body to the intellect, and the descendant of a Luther or a Bacon go down to the level of the most stupid boor that drives his oxen over the sands of southern Africa. End of Female Education, Physical Training